Welcome to another episode of All Things in the Name of Love. And today I have with me, just met her, already a soul sister, Lucie Ptasznik, and among other things, because we already started talking, and so this is like just the summary of what she does. You're a national speaker, coach, and entrepreneur, and you help people awaken to their own greatness. And before I press record, we were already talking about animals, but I want to first start a little bit about your journey, which led you to what you're doing now. Like, how did you come to your latest iteration?
Yeah. Okay. So it's been kind of an awesome, incredible, and very blessed journey, I would say. I love what Dr. Dyer says, and he's like, we're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. And I think it's so important to recognize that all of our paths lead us down these different journeys, lead us down these different paths. And if we're open, it's just a spiritual awakening. And that if we're open to receive the different downloads or the different lessons from the hardships that we've had to overcome, we grow and our soul is constantly on this evolution. And how can it grow? How can it expand? And that's why I love challenging my clients to step outside of their comfort zones and become the best versions of themselves mentally, physically, financially, and spiritually. So, a little bit about how I am in the position where I am. It all started many years ago in the suburbs of Detroit. I was a little girl with a big dream, and I was obsessed with horses from the time that I can remember. All I could think about, talk about, dream about were horses. And so, therefore, I would beg my dad every day, Dad, please will you buy me a horse? Well, I grew up, like I said, in the city, and my parents were blue collar workers. My mom had two factory jobs. Horses were just not in the realm of possibilities.
Right, right.
So here I am, this broken-hearted kid, like, how am I going to handle this? And as Napoleon Hill states, all achievement starts with a burning desire. And I would certainly say, without a word of a doubt, that I had that burning desire born within me from the time I can remember. And so I decided that I had to take matters into my own hands. So the day that I turned 16 was the very same day that I got my driver's license, and the same day that I decided to put an ad on Craigslist saying, I will ride your horse for free.
I love
Because
that.
that was the only way that I knew how I could finagle this. And so next thing you know, sure enough, I have all of these yahoos calling me with their unbroke greenbroke horses that haven't been ridden in 5 to 10 years and need someone to ride them.
Oh my
So
gosh.
here I am, full of piss and vinegar and confidence, ready to conquer the world, driving all over God's country to all of these different farms, riding these people's horses. Next thing you know, I'm getting bucked off right and left, thrown off the horses, flipped over on, you name it, I
Oh yeah.
experienced it. But again, it's like, it's so funny that it's so relatable to life because again, it was a failing forward experience. You live and you learn and you get tough and you get back on that horse. And I think that's why it's so important to just have that relentless drive, that relentless pursuit of your dreams, that no matter what happens and how many times life is gonna throw you on the ground and you eat dirt, but it doesn't matter. I was so happy just to have the experience and the ability that I was happy to just crawl right back up in the saddle and start again. So
I love
as
that.
as time would have it, I never actually received any formal instruction or education. It was actually all of the horses that taught me everything that I know today. Um, and that's why now my jam is like, find out what your talent is, find out what your passion and your skill set is, and exploit it in the service of others. Because when you do that, not only are you going to be met with, not only you're going to find like true fulfillment, but you're going to be met with unrivaled success and abundance in all areas of your life. So that was so then I went on and I ended up stumbling upon a horse dealer. Now, this horse dealer gentleman would get in about 50 horses a week. I had to ride everything and I had to sell it fast, quick, and cheap because if I didn't sell these horses fast enough, they were getting shipped to Canada. So here I am, 16-year-old girl with on a mission to save all the horses of the world. So I'm selling all these horses. And so that was like my first step into the world or the life of an entrepreneur, right? The sky's
Wow.
the limit. And if you can ride 5 horses a day, cool. If you can ride 15 horses a day, cool. If you can ride 25, like just crank it out. And so I've always had that like built-in work ethic coupled with like the passion of just getting to know all the different personality of the horses.
Oh yeah.
Um, so then fast forward a little bit more, graduated college, I got scooped up into the corporate world. And so when I got scooped up into the corporate world, I had the world's worst boss. And mind you, this whole time throughout college, throughout the corporate world, I'm still selling horses on the side. And so then here I am like this young 21, 22-year-old girl radiating positivity, talking about the law of attraction. And I saw this movie, The Secret, and it changed my life and opened my eyes to this world of possibilities. And his name was Justin Miller, God bless him. And he was just the world's most negative, miserable boss you could ever imagine, to the point where we had to travel to different cities around the country, and he would list out every single possibility that could go wrong. And I'm like, Justin, don't you realize that in you listing off every single thing that could go wrong, you're calling all of that to you. You're calling in all of that negativity into our experience. And I'm like, I don't want that. So I'm like, we need to work on this mindset of your anyway.
Yeah.
So probably just as I was like radiating positivity, he was probably just as annoyed with me as I was with with all of his negative mumbling and grumbling. And so sure enough, I ended up quitting the corporate job, and which was one of the scariest moments of my life, because my parents, again, my dad was like, who do you think you are? People have worked their whole entire lives to be in the position that you are and have this comfy, cozy corporate job, full benefits, paid vacation, salary checks, and the works. And I mean, it really was very beautiful. I worked at the international headquarters, and it was great. But at the end of the day, like I just felt inside, like I felt in my heart that like I was meant for more, and that I was operating out of alignment, and that I don't want to like, I don't want to say like unfinished business, but like I was just meant for more. And so sure enough, I ended up quitting my corporate job and pursuing my passion of horses. And I went on to go ahead and build and scale a 7-figure business, where now I'm blessed to be able to buy, train, and sell horses all over the country. And I accidentally opened one of Michigan's largest public trail riding companies, just because I like trail riding and I wanted to share the gift and the beauty of trail riding with everybody I could. And so now, which has essentially got me to where I am now, which is that I am obsessed with teaching people all about quantum physics and how to leverage the laws of the universe to truly understand that you can be, do, have anything that you can dream of. If I can do it, like I'm not saying all this to, hey, look at me. I'm saying all of this because I believe that you have to live and lead and inspire by example. So I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk. I've done the things, I've done the work. I know, like I've done it. So therefore, now I've put together this toolbox that I want to give to people. So to set people up for success, so that way they can follow their dreams and show them that you don't have to live in fear. You don't have to live in lack. You don't have to live in scarcity or anxiety. Like there's a better way. And it's like all things are possible. We just have to bridge that with belief, and you can have it all. So that's kind of where my journey has led me. So now I'm passionate about rewiring the subconscious mind
Yeah.
and transforming your identity to help people take massive action towards their goals. So that's the whole
Mhm.
enchilada.
I love that. There's so many things that are popping up in different ways, but first I want to talk about, because you and I started talking about it beforehand. So I've been writing since I was 4. Um, I did Western writing, I've done English writing, the whole thing. But what I loved the best was riding bareback.
I knew you were going to
And
say that.
because being able to feel the energy of the horse and trail
Yeah.
rides, like, I mean, I've done the competition for a minute back in the day, but like the trail ride gets you connected with the horse on a very deep level because you're trusting the horse. And I went down a hill that was like this kind of gradient, and the woman's like, just follow me. And I'm like, now I'm going to lean back as far as I can to counterbalance my weight on the horse because I'm not going to lean forward because that's going to put more pressure on the horse. And it was like one of those loose dirt things. So I'm trying to like be gentle with the horse. And she's the woman that was leading us was so mad at me because I'm listening to the horse. I'm not listening to her. And we made it down fine, but the attitude. I'm like, I was on a Tennessee Walker, never ridden one before. She's beautiful. Oh my God, beautiful horse. And the horse was so grateful that I tuned into her as opposed to the trail leader. And it was such a fascinating experience because I'd never really had I mean, I've always been around horse, but I hadn't felt the energetic connection like I did on that trail ride. And subsequently, I've met a horse from the Nez Perce tribe, and he is majestic. And I'm like, I don't even want to ride you. You're too beautiful.
Yeah, some of them are gorgeous, like breathtaking.
So how, like, you've had the passion since you were little. How have you seen your relationship evolve as you've opened yourself up to more of your spiritual self?
I think that, I think that, so I think my spiritual journey kicked off when I would say when I was 18, I saw the movie The Secret. My niece, who's been like my ride or die, my confidant, if you will, we're the same age and we grew up like sisters. And she's like, Luce, we gotta watch this movie. So I'm like, all right, sweet, let's watch it. And I remember watching it and thinking like, wow, there's this world of possibilities just available at my fingertips. And then after watching that movie, when I was working in corporate, I would do, believe it or not, I was like an Excel spreadsheet wizard. So here I am sitting in the cube working on these Excel spreadsheets that were just miles long, but I had my earphones in and I would listen to Dr. Wayne Dyer for hours and hours and hours. And I love that man so much. He has just been a foundation in essentially becoming who I am and opening that door for me and me deciding to walk through it and really get in touch with like the spiritual side of things. And then through his work, I ended up getting connected with Abraham Hicks. And then I attended an in-person workshop in Chicago, again with Ashley, my niece. And so that's what kicked off my meditation journey, because as I'm listening to all of these, as I'm listening to Dr. Wayne Dyer and Dr. Joe Dispenza and Abraham Hicks, and they're talking about, okay, thoughts become things, and your thoughts, and talk about quantum physics. We live in a vibrational reality. We live in an attraction-based reality where all things move and all things vibrate, and that your thoughts carry a frequency with them. If you want a better life, think better thoughts. And so then and how do you become aware of your thoughts? Meditation. The definition of meditation is to become aware of oneself. And so I was implementing everything that they were telling me. And the only missing piece up until that point was the meditation piece. So when I went to the Abraham Hicks workshop and they're like, beloved human beings, if there's one thing that we would recommend that you do, and you start implementing it immediately, and you'll start to see incredible impacts in every area of your life, it's meditation. And so anyways, I started meditating, and then uh just it was almost like I like to almost put like a warning label on the meditation, because sometimes what can happen is you start meditating, and what are you doing when you're meditating? You are releasing resistance, you're releasing any worry, doubt, fear, any limiting beliefs, anything that's holding you back or weighing you down, and therefore you're allowing your vibration to rise. And in its intentionality of raising your vibration, what happens is everything that's operating at a lower vibration must fall away. And so sometimes my warning label to people is, if you start meditating, just be aware that it might feel like your world is beginning to like collapse around you and things are starting to fall away that you weren't ready for, but that's because they weren't meant for you anyways. So
Right.
lovingly release them and allow them to leave you, because the universe abhors a void. Therefore,
Mhm.
when you let something go that's not meant for you, or that's not a vibrational match for you, something better, something greater, something more in alignment with the true and highest version of yourself will flow to you and fill that void. So, and it's all about leaning into that unshakable faith,
Mhm.
and really just believing in yourself, having faith in God, and then just like trusting the process, so that way you can enjoy each step of the journey. So, to all of that to say that the the leap of faith that I took in leaving my corporate career to take a chance on myself and pursue my passion of horses, that was like the beginning of like my real spiritual journey. And then everything that I've done, like my horse business, it's so cool because when you learn about spirituality and you learn about things like intention setting, for example, and I'm a huge advocate of intention setting. So every night I'll write out my gratitudes, everything that I'm grateful for the day, and then I'll do tomorrow's
Mhm.
forecast. And then in tomorrow's forecast, I'll write out whatever it is that I would like to create or attract into my day. And sometimes that might be like, I might just have an inclination to write horse sale question mark. Like I don't have anything on the books. No, I don't have I don't have an appointment scheduled. But
Mhm.
sure enough, just because I decided to use my imagination in the right way and think about everything that could potentially go right, like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if somebody called me from out of state, decided that they wanted to buy the horse and wired me a $1,000 deposit? Like, that would be nice. I'll write down horse sale. And then sure enough, poof, I'd write it down. And the next day, someone would call me from out of state and wire me a deposit. And I'm like, oh my gosh, so it was through my business that I was able to see all of these synchronicities, if you will, or coincidences.
Mhm.
And just like Dr. Wayne Dyer says, there are no such thing as coincidences,
Right.
because coincidence is a mathematical term from the term of coinciding angles, two angles that fit perfectly together. And so that's why I'm
Mm.
like, there are no coincidences. And that's why I think that we're all on our own spiritual journeys. You just have to be awake and open to realize that life doesn't happen to you, life is happening for you. And as soon
Mhm.
as you shift that perspective, then you'll start to see the beauty and the abundance in all things.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel that because and the thing that I love is so when I've worked with horses, I remember doing one and I just put my hand on it and I felt the energy, whatever needed the horse needed, it was coming through so fast I couldn't hear words. And I just let the energy flow through me. And at the end, she did a full body shake. So I know she integrated it. And when you're with them, how do you interrelate with them? Because I know that their energy is so profound and they're so heart-based.
So heart-based. It's really so for example, tonight I'm really excited because I have my one of my horse suppliers, his name's Jay, and he travels all over the Midwest and buys horses, and he knows exactly what I like. And so anytime he gets a load of horses, he'll say, "Hey, Luce, I'm coming over. So after this podcast, I'm gonna go meet Jay, and then I'm gonna open up the trailer door, and I don't know what he's got in his trailer. It's like, what's behind door number one?" And you open it and you see the horse, and it might be big, it might be small, it might be short, it might be fat, you never know. And so it might be broke, it might be wild, we
Yeah.
don't know. And so
Mhm.
every single horse is just a different approach. and I kind of just, I let the horses show me what they know. I kind of just, I take my time and I do my thing. And I've been working with these horses for so long, and so many of these horses come to me with no backstory that I don't know what to expect. I don't have someone that's that's bred the horse and has owned the horse
Right.
since birth. So it's, I have to be careful, obviously, and ride defensively, if you will, because I don't know what the horse's past experience is. I don't know if it's broke, but um I've gotten on like thousands of horses at this point without knowing anything about their past, that I can tell, like, I know what different things mean. So like if I throw the saddle on and the saddle's like, and they're super nervous about that, sign one. If I go to girth up the girth and they start like getting real nervous and real tight, then I'm like, okay, no, we're going to take it slow and see how you respond to this. If I put the bridle in and they're like trying to spit out the bit, and I'm like, okay, doesn't love this bit, maybe we try a different bit. And I just, I try different things, and I really pay attention to the horse's energy, how the horse is responding to me. But I try to be like more of like a blank canvas, if you will, just like a
Okay.
receiver of the energy.
Hmm.
And then I just take my time, and sometimes I'll just have Jay hold the horse, and I'll go ahead and put my foot in the saddle, in the stirrup, and swing my leg over. And like as soon as you sit on them, it's almost like you can tell, like, is this horse going to blow up? Or is this horse calm? Is it relaxed? Or
Hmm.
maybe it's like the horse is a little bit nervous, but a little bit unsure, but we can work it out. So that for me is, it's a truly rewarding experience, because I get to work with these horses that that don't that might not have the best future in front of them, and I'm able to kind of pluck them out, if you will, and give them a second chance and find them the right home. And it's the most beautiful thing, because not only is it gratifying being part of their journey and seeing how each day, each ride, each week, they're consistently improving and they're learning, and there's that communication and that bond. But then also when I go to list them and I do find them their forever home, it's really cool. And I have, parents are sending me pictures of their children, like, of the kid hugging the horse bareback in the field, like, oh my God, Julie loves Oreo and they're best friends. And he's out there every morning waiting for her to feed him in the morning, or, whatever story. Or like sometimes I'll get really cool pictures of like the blue ribbons and their championship jumping pictures of the horses in these stadiums, these beautiful stadiums with blue ribbon. Oh, it's incredible. So it's fun because I get to work with all sorts of different personalities with the horses, and to see their progression is extraordinarily gratifying.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that because they're such magical beings. I love being able to feel not just the personality, but the energy of each one of them and how they respond to where we are in our energy too.
Super.
I did one horse I worked on, it was an experiment. I'm like, I wonder what happens if I do the heart math breath where I just like tune into my heart for the like 5 to 7 minutes before I go see him.
Yeah.
Oh, it was completely different. And I'm like, well, that's what they like. Okay, good to know. I mean, every animal likes that when we're in our heart, but like that was just such a profound awareness of like, oh, they do not want us to be in our heads, and they will let us know when we're in our heads because they want us to get back into our hearts. And I think they're
Yeah.
great teachers for that.
They really are. They really are. And they're good mirrors too of what we're feeling. So for example, like when we take someone out and somebody is like really scared, nervous, full of fear, then like the horse is going to be more tense and more nervous. And as soon as I tell people, just big breath in and release and relax. And I'm like, you have nothing to worry about, nothing to fear. I want you to relax every muscle in your body and
Yeah.
imagine that you're just sitting on this horse like a bag of potatoes. And then they're like, oh yeah, the horse slowed down. The horse is more calm. And I'm like, yeah, you're sitting on a prey animal. So when you're squeezing the horse nervous and tight and you're radiating a fearful energy, the horse is like looking around like, what do we need to be afraid of? And it's just like, there's
Yeah.
nothing to be afraid of. Just calm down and relax and be present. Enjoy this. And they're like, oh wow, I'm so glad that you like, and again, it's all about awareness and bringing
Yeah.
awareness to a lot of our we all are conditioned to some degree, and we all have patterns that run our lives. And like, I mean, at the end of the day, we're creatures of habit, right? We all
Hmm.
have like different patterns that we run on repeat. And once we shed the light of awareness on these patterns, they no longer control us. And
Hmm.
so that's something that I like to teach my people.
I appreciate that so much because like one of the things that's been coming through me lately is how to bring more awareness to how we interact with animals and how their
Mhm.
consciousness is shifted, and so how we interrelate with them better. And the word, I haven't memorized it yet, so I have to look at it. Kahu. It's a Hawaiian phrase, and it's the interrelationship we have with the animals. And it's like we are the protector, the steward, the I don't know what that word is. I'm gonna write it fast. But basically, we're the beloved attendant. And that's the energy they want us to step into, as opposed to the pet human energy, because their frequency is shifting and they want us to see them as equals. And I'm wondering if you're noticing that with the horses.
Well, I will say that definitely horses are herd animals. And so what that means is they have a hierarchy. So in their herd, there's always going to be the dominant, the boss horses, the alphas. Then there's
Mhm.
going to be the ones that kind of fall in the middle. And then there's going to be the low men on the totem pole that kind of get kicked off. They're, they get the last drink of the water once everyone else has drank.
Mhm.
They get they get the last of the pickings. So when horses like that's how they operate, and that's the lens in which they view life. So when they're looking at us, they look at us just like another herd animal, if you will. And so therefore they're looking at us as, okay, is this going to be an alpha person, or is this going to be a beta person? Am I actually going to have to listen to this person? Is this person going to be a leader? And
Mhm.
so there's so many different leadership skills that we can learn when working with horses, because horses, they look to us for leadership. They look for us like, okay, what's the next thing that we're doing? And when you show up with that energy of confidence, that energy of like assertiveness, of knowing, and not mean or aggressive, but just calm and confident, they
Mhm.
respond so well to that because they know that they can trust that. So, and whether you're working with a team of horses or a team of people, that calm, confident
Mhm.
leadership energy is going to pervade all areas of your life.
Totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. So I want to ask you, how do you help your clients
Yeah.
step into
So
that?
the biggest thing is truly understanding that we are all conditioned, whether it's from our past, from our parents, from any traumas that we've experienced. We are essentially all conditioned to some degree, and we all have different limiting beliefs, or we all have a map of the world, if you will. We're all living in the same world, but we're all experiencing different things. And
Yeah.
think about it. You can be sitting down at the dinner table with somebody and you guys can have two totally different experiences at dinner. Like it happened like one time we were in Las Vegas, and sure enough, I'm sitting next to my girlfriend, and then I was talking to the server who was behind, and the server was telling me about this beautiful beach property that he just purchased. It's right next to a waterfall, and how he walks out on the beach and he meditates every morning on the sand. He's telling me all about this beautiful thing. While he is telling me about this property, sure enough, all sorts of drama had broke loose at the table, where some girl said something to someone else and hurt someone's feelings, and I don't even know what happened. All I know is I'm just the happiest little thing in my little bubble of positivity, because the thing is when you meditate every single morning, you raise your vibration. When you raise your vibration, you can only have access to people, places, things, experiences that are resonating at that frequency. Therefore,
Mm-hmm.
anything less than that, anything that's vibrating at a lower frequency, be it drama, chaos, arguments with a spouse, traffic, anything that's not pleasing you, literally can't affect you. It can't touch you. Why? Because you're not a vibrational match. So I essentially teach people different tools. We have a robust 16-week program that's based off 3 pillars: energy, desire, and belief. So the first thing is energy, and truly understanding that when you're able to control your emotional state, you can control your world. But a lot of times we get so used to being who we are, and we get so caught up in feelings of guilt or shame or overwhelm or fear or lack or whatever it is that we're experiencing for days, weeks, months, years. We start to feel like, oh, that's who we are. And we forget what feeling good feels like. And we
Mm-hmm.
forget that, like, wait, what does peace of mind feel like? What is excitement? What is joy? What does abundance feel like? And so I help people with a whole toolbox of different tools and strategies that sets people up for success and gets them into a peak state. Because when you think about, you are where you are today based on every single decision that you've made up until this point. So therefore, we can easily suggest that decision is what shapes our destiny. Well, what's the one thing that's going to influence every decision that you make? It's your emotional state. So therefore, if you're able to control your emotional state, you're able to control your destiny. So if you're in a peak state, which is when you're feeling passionate and alive and unstoppable, like you can hurdle over any obstacle placed your way, you're going to be making drastically different decisions than when you're feeling weak or ashamed or guilty or full of fear. And so therefore, we want to set people up for success to not only be able to operate in these higher vibrational empowered states of consciousness, but also be able to attain them and like maintain them for hours. It's like, how many hours a day are you operating in a peak emotional state? How many
Right.
hours a week? How many hours a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so when you're able to really manage your emotions and your state, then you're able to control your world. So that's the first thing. And then it's kind of understanding like the energetics that go behind it. And the second thing is desire. So a lot of times we'll ask people, okay, what is it that you want? What do you want in life? Like what would you like your life to look like? And the first thing that they do is list off every single thing that they don't want. And I feel like society and today, like they have this like embedded into our subconscious that like we have to focus on the bad, the negative. And
Wow.
unfortunately, where your focus goes, your energy flows. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
constantly focused on what you don't want, you're going to attract more of it. When you're
Right.
focused on the past or when you're focused on your current situation, you're just going to be stuck in a loop and continue to create more of what already is.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, we take people through a very specific vision extraction process where we
Mm.
go through the 5 different levels of a vision: health and fitness, relationships, finances, lifestyle, because life's meant to be enjoyed and
Mm-hmm.
and and celebrated, and spirituality, and which also encompasses like self growth and development.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of package that all together, and then we get into like using your imagination to create the vision, and then
Mm.
intention setting and like the power of journaling and really being very specific and how to properly set the right intention. Don't write, oh, I never want to be late again, because if you talk about being late, guess what? You're going to be late. So
Right.
you have to talk about what you want, not what you don't want.
Right.
And
Right.
then the third thing is all about belief. And the reason why belief is so fundamentally important is because belief is what bridges where you are from where you want to be. Your
Mm-hmm.
belief system or your paradigm is essentially what's holding you hostage in your current reality. And therefore, we need to rewire your subconscious mind. We need to upgrade your software that's running your life. We need to look at what are your core values and what are the rules that you're applying to your life in those areas. And then the other thing is you can have a vision and you can know with absolute clarity what you want in life. However, if you don't believe that you're worthy, if you don't believe that you're capable of it, if you don't believe that you're if you don't carry that self-love inside of yourself, there's always going to be that vibrational discrepancy where that thing that you long for is just out of reach. And so therefore, we help people build their belief system, shift their paradigm, and also really it's about transforming your identity. So we do a lot of identity work with people, and because our identity is what, if there's one thing, if there's one giant consistency with the human being, is that we feel that we must show up as we see ourselves. The way, like, our behaviors and our actions must be in alignment with who we believe ourselves to be. And therefore, if we believe that, oh yeah, I'm a little bit overweight, or yeah, I'm just a little bit disorganized, or I just like to sleep in, or I stay up late, or I do these things, like, well, that's who you're going to show up as. It's not until you actually transform your identity, because again, you are where you are today based on every single decision you've made up until this point. So therefore, if you want a new life, a beautiful future, an incredible new reality, you're going to have to start thinking different thoughts, feeling different emotions, and taking different actions, making different decisions like you never have before, which essentially means becoming a new person, transforming your identity. And the reason why that's so difficult is because when you transform your identity, it's like death of the ego. How long have you been yourself? Like, you've been you for a really long time,
Right,
and
right.
it served you in a lot, it served you and met your needs at a really high level for how many years or how many decades. So it's like, wait, I have to like become a totally different person. It's like, yes, if you want to experience unprecedented success, if you want to experience happiness and fulfillment and abundance and joy, we're going to have to do a couple things differently. And those things are going to feel very scary and very, very uncomfortable at first. But that's why we challenge people to step outside of those comfort zones, so that way they can become the best versions of themselves. So that's
That's
the whole program kind of in a nutshell.
that's beautiful because like I mean, I've had this very beautiful, slow remembrance process where I've been doing it my whole life, but like I'll have awarenesses because I do a lot of somatic work. I had one this
Yeah.
morning. I had this puzzle piece of me that I've seen glimpses of, but it hasn't been ready to be felt yet. And
Mhm.
this morning it finally like, hey, I'm ready. And I'm like, oh my gosh, honey, I'm so grateful that you're here because I know the program, but the somatic level that I work at was just like ready for me to feel it. And I'm like, that is so cool because now I can be present to it and it'll take as long as it wants to take because I'm not putting timelines on it or anything. But like my body is so excited that I'm finally paying attention to this aspect of me. And, it's a journey of releasing those programs. And I'm like, there's another like part of me is like, oh my God, there's another program. But but the other part of me is like, this is a really deep one, which means I'm actually getting clearer and clearer because I'm releasing more and more. And that's exciting to me.
I know. I heard my girlfriend was just teaching me about somatic release, and I've been hearing more and more about it, and then listening to a couple of your podcasts, and also saying that it's worked wonders for you lately. I need to be more intentional about doing some of those exercises as well, because
Yeah.
trauma's trapped in the body,
Hmm.
and it's all about releasing that energy
Yeah.
and raising the vibration.
Oh yeah. Like I used to when I started doing somatic work, I would just sob, like massive, massive levels of sobbing and just like like trying to do the deep breathing. But then now it's like I can just feel the energy and just be present to it. And if tears want to come, they come, but it's not like the sobbing because my body is so like the neural pathway switched. It knows like when I'm like holding myself, it's like, okay, she's paying attention, she's present. We don't have to like freak out that she's finally paying attention. We get to like be present and like know that she's present and she's not going to go away. And therefore the release isn't as intense as it was.
I love that. That makes sense. It's a practice. It takes
Yeah.
time. It takes just getting to know our bodies,
Yeah.
holding that space, being present with ourselves, with our emotions. So beautiful and so important.
Mm. And it's something that we haven't been taught. So like we get to, for those of us on this journey of wanting to remember who we are, we get to remember that yes, we are souls in a body, but we chose this temple. So how are we going to love our temples to be the best versions of us?
So true. Self-love I feel like self-love is the secret ingredient.
Mhm.
Once you start really get that voice in your head in check, and then start to really do like look in the mirror and like intensely feel like say that like I love you, looking in the mirror, I love you, and like feeling that, it's like every single cell of your body is going to respond in such an incredibly beautiful and positive way. You think about it, 80% of our, what do they say, 70, 80% of our body's water.
Mhm.
And if you take a flower, if you take two flowers and tell one flower, I love you, you're beautiful and perfect, I love you. And the other one, I hate you, you're disgusting, why are you, you're a failure, you suck. Like this flower is going to crumble and die, and this one's going to thrive. And it's just like, what makes us think that our bodies are any differently?
Mhm.
Stop saying, like, stop, like, we, on average, we think 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and 90% of those thoughts are negative. So
Yeah.
it's really about retraining that voice in our head and learning to speak to ourselves with kind, loving words of appreciation and adoration. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, of course we can improve every day. Let's improve. Let's make the decisions to improve. Let's
Yeah.
take the time. But where we're at right now, let's just choose to love ourselves where we are. And because we love ourselves so much, we're going to make those decisions to take care of our body in the way that it deserves to be taken care of.
Mhm. In as many ways as we possibly can.
Yes.
Yeah, I've noticed that the more I pay attention to myself, the less I'm interested in anyone else. And I don't mean that from a selfish place. I mean it from I'm so present with myself that I don't have time for gossiping. I don't have time for worrying. I have time for,
Mhm.
concern and compassion. But like when I feel myself getting involved in somebody else's story, then I take that on. So like really being present to like what is me and what is somebody else's and how I can hold space for it and not become part of that story has been really, really a beautiful journey.
And it's so important because a lot, like, we are the average of the five people that we hang out with the most and that
Hmm.
we surround ourselves with. And the other thing is like it's so important to protect our vibration at all costs. And depending on who you're surrounding yourselves with, the conversations you're having, like it's funny, like if you go to a dinner party and there's different groups of people all and talking, you can visit this group and this group might be talking about something negative where it's like, oh yeah, I got into a car accident last week. And then as soon as someone shares about their car accident, the other person is going to share about their car accident. And then they're going to share about their car accident. And so everyone's going to start like, they want to relate. And when you want to relate to other people, you want to share like similar stories at like a
Hmm.
similar vibration. But what they
Hmm.
don't realize is that in that conversation of negativity and talking about like a car accident, like that doesn't serve you because you're putting your focus and your attention on a car accident. How about, and so then you skip what you're like, I think I'll leave that conversation over there, and you skip over here to your next circle of people, and then they're talking about like the next, like their next podcast that they're collaborating on, or some exciting new venture that they're starting, or maybe they're doing some sort of real estate investment and they're super excited about. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about exciting, empowering, uplifting ideas. And so it's, and to your point, it's like, you don't want to be rude and just be like, okay, bye. You want to like hold space for that person, but it's about really being intentional and allowing like, okay, how can we turn this around? How can we see the good in this? What lessons are learned? How can we take this lesson and move forward in a powerful, positive way, and not take that energy on?
Right, right. Those are beautiful examples because it's just bringing that awareness in, and it's a constant for me. It's a constant level of, okay, what else can I be aware of? Like, what behavior that I didn't see yesterday can I see today to help me change my how I show up in the world?
Yes, yes. And it's so, I mean, like, that's what it's like. We all have these stories, right? Of this is who I am because of this, and this is my past, and therefore, and again, if we think 60 to 70 thoughts a day, and we know that our thoughts create our reality, that and we keep thinking the same thoughts that we thought yesterday are the same thoughts that we think today, and 90% of the thoughts that we think today are going to be the same thoughts we think tomorrow. It's like, how do we expect to create? Are we living from a memory of the past, or
Mhm.
are we living from a vision of the future? And so it's really taking a very intentional look at the stories that we're holding on to, because at the end of the day, a belief is nothing more than a thought that we keep thinking, and we can change a belief at any given time. Just like we can
Mhm.
change our story. If we don't like our current situation or circumstance, we can make a decision right here, right now. You're only one decision away from a completely different life. And when you make that decision and say, I'm putting my foot down, I'm drawing a line in the sand, this is it. Moving forward, I'm this is what my life is going to look like. I'm going to wake up and smile and experience peace of mind and joy. I'm going to feel, what can I do today that will make me feel abundant? And then just like, just a little taste here, because again, your reticular activating system, your RAS, is going to um, find whatever is most familiar. And so if you're most familiar with living in a one-bedroom apartment, and having a roommate sleep on your couch and you can barely pay the bills, like, that's what you're familiar with, and therefore you're
Mhm.
going to attract more people, places, and circumstances. But if you're like, oh well, I think I'm gonna work really hard and I'm gonna treat myself to maybe stay at like a really nice hotel and kind of get a taste what luxury
Mhm.
might feel like. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I think I like this. And then you do it maybe a couple times a year, and then you're like, I was meant for this. I deserve this. I was made
Mhm.
for this. And then you're activating your RAS. So your reticular activating system, it's kind of like, imagine like if you buy a Tesla and then all of a sudden you see Teslas everywhere,
Mhm.
and you're like, you start seeing them everywhere. The RAS is very similar. Like, whatever we implant in our subconscious mind, we'll begin to see more of. So therefore, when we help people craft their visions, and you're reading your vision every day or every week, all of a sudden you're implanting that in your RAS, and
Mhm.
therefore you're opening yourselves up to see like, oh, here's an opportunity there. Or, oh, look at this door that I didn't even know this opportunity was here. It's been waiting for me this entire time. And so it's all about just being the power of awareness and the power of intention, and just incorporating those into your life to live the most fulfilled and most aligned life as possible.
Mm. I love that. I am aware of time, so I'm just going to ask you one more question, and that is, how do people find you?
Yeah, so okay, so like I mentioned before, we have this robust 16-week program that allows people to very intentionally rewire their subconscious mind, transform their identity, and start taking massive action towards their goals. And we've actually condensed this into a 6-part training. And if you go to the website, ultimatesuccessblueprint.com, this condensed training is on sale for $1,000. However, your audience can use the keyword love from obviously this podcast. And if they type in love as the keyword, they'll be able to download that 6-part training for free at absolutely no cost to them whatsoever.
Oh, wow.
And they're going to be able to essentially take away different strategies and techniques that, again, are going to allow them to intentionally raise their vibration, become more aware of the thoughts that they're thinking, the emotions that they're feeling, and take back control of their reality. Step outside of that unintentional victim mode, stop giving their power away, and really become the best versions of themselves. So that's what we put together. If they go to ultimatesuccessblueprint.com, and then the keyword is going to be love.
Thank you so much, Lucy. That's so generous and so kind. And I so appreciate you and the work you do in the world. And I'm so grateful we have connected. And I just love you.
I have enjoyed my time with you immensely. This has been such an amazing podcast.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you again so much for having me. I've loved every moment.
Thank you.